Ford's Ranger has been the firm's core pickup truck for many years now, and along that time it's appealed to thousands of buyers who want a robust and reliable truck. But what if you want to take things to a slightly more extreme level? Well, that's where this comes in. It's the Ford Ranger Raptor, and it's kitted out with a load of mechanical upgrades which help it to go further and go faster. The question is, should you opt for this Raptor version over the conventional and already very good standard Ranger? That's what we're going to find out today. It's hard to miss the Ranger Raptor. Up front, it's got a huge front grille, which takes its inspiration from the F-150 over in the States. Around the side, you've got these rugged plastic wheel arch covers, and underneath you've got these large wheels shod in off-road tyres. Of course, this particular version has quite prominent stripes too, but these can be deleted if you'd rather a slightly more understated look. The interior of the Ranger Raptor will be pretty familiar to anyone who's spent some time in a recent Ford model. The buttons down here are relatively small, but they're easy to use and they're easy to access too. The central touchscreen is quite small too, but it does include features like Apple CarPlay, which do help to elevate its usability and its user friendliness. Ahead, we've got some quite traditional analog dials, which are quite refreshing in the day and age of digital dials. And the steering wheel, which is multifunction, is leather trimmed, and it also has a nice marker at the top. And this matches the trimmed leather pieces on the dashboard too. Elsewhere, there are some scratchier plastics, but in all, it's quite a nice place to be. There is space for 3 people in the rear seats too, but it is quite compact, and because of those chunky pillars, it can feel a little bit cocoon-like and a little constrictive. Inside the Ford Raptor load bed, you've got a load length at the floor of 1,575mm and a load width at the floor of 1,560mm. All of these figures are exactly the same as you'd find in the regular Ranger. However, when it comes to towing, the extra mechanical upgrades that you get with the Raptor mean that it can only have a legal payload of 620 kilograms. And equally, because of these upgrades, it can't tow quite as much as a regular Ranger. In fact, it'll only be allowed to tow 2.5 tonnes compared to 3.5 tonnes that you get with the rest of the Ranger lineup. The Ranger Raptor has been given a host of mechanical revisions to elevate it somewhat over the regular Ranger. We've got Fox shock absorbers, and Fox obviously have gained a massive reputation in the mountain biking world, but have applied it to automotive parts too. And these help the Raptor to deal with large impacts when travelling at speed off-road. You also get a host of different driver modes, including Baja mode, which puts the car into its most aggressive setting and allows you to tackle obstacles whilst also having a level of involvement that you don't usually get from a pickup truck. It's all centred around a 2-litre turbocharged diesel engine with 201 brake horsepower, linked to the wheels through a 10-speed automatic gearbox. Now, even though it produces over 200 brake horsepower, this isn't a quick truck. It'll take 10 seconds to get from 0 to 60 miles an hour. However, of course, this car isn't about that. On the road, the Ranger Raptor feels a little bit fidgety, and those tyres, those huge tyres which give you better traction off-road and of course just look really cool, do generate quite a lot of noise, which then echoes through the cabin. Certainly if you are driving this car after a conventional SUV or an estate car, you're going to notice that difference in refinement, and this car isn't going to be as comfortable to live with over long journeys or long distances. However, the engine itself is decent enough, and despite it not being awfully powerful, provides the torque if and when you need it. It also should achieve just over 30 mpg, which isn't too bad for a pickup truck. Of course, you've got selectable 4-wheel drive, so you can keep it in 2-wheel drive when you're on the road, and then you've got 4 high and 4 low for when you're off-road. Thankfully, Ford has thought long and hard about the practicality of driving this car, which is why you've got really large wing mirrors, and actually the forward pillars aren't too thick either. The view out of the back is pretty decent too, though of course those rear pillars are quite thick, and that does impede your visibility somewhat. Changing through the different driving modes on the steering wheel really does affect the way the car drives, and Baja mode in particular really helps to make the car feel quite alive and quite energetic. Of course, the Raptor can do quite nicely at the traditional British mud plugging type of off-roading that we usually do in this country. At lower speeds, it's got plenty of articulation, and the 4-wheel drive system is capable enough to keep you going no matter what the conditions. But where this car really shines
is travelling through surfaces like gravel or sand at higher speeds, where all of the suspension components combine to create a car that just floats over poor surfaces. In fact, it's a truck that really does want you to push a little bit harder and go a little bit faster over rough conditions, where the fantastic suspension combine to make a car that gives a magic carpet ride despite you travelling over really difficult terrain. I've been fortunate enough to drive this truck before in Morocco, and over dunes and over rough gravel surfaces, it was scarcely believable how easily it could just keep momentum and keep pace. Of course, it's unlikely that you're going to find too many of those conditions in the UK, and you're not going to be driving like that on the road, but it does show just how sorted this suspension setup is, and it's nice to know underneath that it's there whenever you need it.
The Ranger Raptor comes as quite a unique proposition. On the one hand, it's seriously impressive off-road, and it looks great too. But on the other, it can't be classed as a commercial vehicle, and that means if you were looking to opt for a CV, then you're not going to go for the Raptor because it doesn't offer any of the savings. So you really do have to compare this to a traditional SUV, and in that sense, it does falter because it isn't as refined and it isn't as comfortable. However, if you do want a vehicle that's going to stand out from the crowd and bring some serious character, then the Ranger Raptor really does tick that box. Thank you for watching this Motors.co.uk new car review on the Ford Ranger Raptor. Please let us know in the comments below what you think of the Raptor, and leave us a like if you've enjoyed this video too. And while you're here, please remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video.